You're listening to the Live Out Loud podcast with River Wynn and Michelle Flamer.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Live Out Loud podcast. Today I'm doing a solo episode. Michelle is traveling this weekend and we're going to miss her, right? But I'm excited to do this solo episode. I want to talk about initiating and dating. Specifically, I want to talk about this from the lens of being a woman, looking at traditional gender roles, how cultural and religious values can shape the narratives we inherit, and why it's absolutely okay for women to initiate, and also take a more feminist approach to modern dating. This is something that is super relevant in my life right now. And I'm going to add the caveat that though we have a very diverse audience, love you all so much, I am going to be talking about this from the perspective of male-female dating solely because that's my experience right now. And while I do identify as a bisexual woman, as a queer woman, that's not where my dating life is at right now. So I don't feel super confident speaking to this from that lens. So I'm going to just approach it from where I'm at right now. This is such an important conversation because whether you realize it or not, a lot of us have been deeply, deeply influenced by old ideas about who is supposed to pursue and who is supposed to wait. And today I want to challenge some of those ideas and offer some new perspectives, share a little about my own experiences with this, because like I said, it's super relevant for me right now, and also give you some encouragement if you've ever wondered whether it's too much to make the first move. And I think if you're a woman, yeah, you probably had that experience, right? So let's dive in. Traditionally, in very heteronormative patriarchal context, men have been seen as the initiators and women have been seen as the choosers or the responders. And you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes right now. There's this idea that men should pursue, lead, and court, and women should be passive, receptive, and wait to be chosen. And you see this in fairy tales, movies, books, songs, like it's everywhere around us. Think about how many love stories are centered around a man winning a woman's heart through persistence, bravery, and grand romantic gestures, while the woman's role is mostly to be desirable and eventually say yes. Like the men chase, the women respond, right? And I know for me that has been the lens of my dating history in so many ways. And I'm unpacking that so deeply right now. I have looked at my dating life as though I have to wait. I have to always wait for someone to choose me. And for me, like, I'm really realizing how deeply that goes. And I think for us as a collective, like, these narratives just aren't random. You know, they come from a long history socially of viewing women as property and marriage as transaction and relationships as something that happened to women rather than something we as women actively chose and shaped. And even though culture has evolved a lot, like we are in 2025, these old scripts are still lurking under the surface for so many of us. I know they are for me, and that's why I'm unpacking it right now. Like they're underneath there. I've had them coming up lately, and I've had to really sit with them. And it's not just fairy tales and rom-coms shaping those beliefs. Cultural and religious values play a huge role too. In so many cultures and religious traditions, there is an emphasis on modesty, purity, and patience for women. Women are often taught to wait, to be pursued, and to view initiating as inappropriate, desperate, or even shameful. And I feel that so deeply for myself. I grew up, as many of you know, as I've shared on the podcast before, I grew up in a religious cult for most of my childhood, my teen years, my formative years, around, puberty and dating and love and all of that. And I was definitely fed these narratives that if a woman is to pursue a man, or when you're a teenager, you're a girl pursuing a boy, that's shameful. That is, gasp, slutty. It is promiscuous. There's so many religious values, conservative values that center women as being wrong and sinful, when they pursue the other gender. And I've carried that around with me for most of my life. And I'm having to really sit with that lately and unpack how that shaped my choices in dating and how I've just waited to be chosen. And I felt so much shame and fear around the idea of pursuing someone I'm interested in. And to the point where I wouldn't even initiate conversation with someone I was interested in because of that internalized shame that I was carrying. So it really made a huge impact on my dating life because I just waited for men to choose me and to show interest in me. And what would happen is that in that action of waiting to be chosen, I also wasn't being discerning. And so I would date men that I didn't even actually like them. I didn't even actually like them because I was just so focused on being chosen that I didn't ask the critical questions of, do I like this person? How do I feel around them? How do I like their energy? And in hindsight, it's like it would have been so important for me to be discerning. And in sitting back and not taking control in my own dating life, I was saying yes to people that were a hard no for me. So yeah, those religious and cultural and social narratives are so strong. And going back, women are, we're taught to wait and be pursued and view initiating as inappropriate, and in the meantime, men are encouraged to take action, to be assertive and lead the relationship, to go after what they want. And depending on your background, these messages might have been super explicit, like my experience, being taught that a good woman doesn't chase a man, again, air quotes, a good woman doesn't chase a man. Or these narratives could have been more subtle, like seeing over and over again that the highest form of love a woman can achieve is being chosen. And if you were raised with those kinds of messages, it's completely understandable if initiating feels uncomfortable. You're not just pushing against personal fear, you're pushing against deep cultural conditioning. And it takes time to first recognize that and then unpack that and put it into practice. But the truth is, real relationships, healthy, thriving, mutual relationships, aren't about who chases and who waits. They're about two people choosing each other freely and enthusiastically. And initiating isn't about being desperate or unworthy. It's about being clear about your own desires and stepping into relationships with agency. I will say, as a parent now, that is something that is so important to me to teach my children because it's not something that I was taught. No one was teaching me about my personal agency and teaching me that how someone makes me feel is more important than how I feel about whether or not they like me. So, we shouldn't focus on, does this person like me? It's, no, my agency. Do I like this person? How do I feel around them? How do I feel about them? Do I like them? That's personal agency. Initiating doesn't make you less feminine or too forward. More air quotes here. Less feminine or too forward. And I feel that. I feel that so deeply because of my religious upbringing. There was definitely like a gender role emphasis on being feminine, soft and feminine, and receiving and letting the man lead. So it's been a lot for me to unpack and recognize that initiating doesn't make me less feminine or too forward. It makes me a participant in my own love life. You are a participant in your own love life when you initiate and you push past that fear. When women initiate, it can be incredibly empowering because it's a way of saying, I know what I want and I'm willing to take a step toward it. That's powerful. And it's also important to remember that initiation is just an invitation, not a demand. You're offering someone the opportunity to connect with you, not forcing them into anything. There's no shame in expressing interest. And if someone isn't interested or doesn't respond well, it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means that wasn't your person. Initiating can be a really beautiful filter. It quickly reveals who's available for the kind of mutual connection that you want. I will say that in the last year, I've challenged myself to be more of an initiator, to really push through that discomfort. And when I see someone that I'm interested in, to be okay with being the one to open the door. And that's what it is, that, an initiation is just an invitation. It's you opening the door to possibility. It's an energetic transaction. It's an energetic movement. You are putting intention and energy towards something that you desire and then seeing what happens. And the reality is that when you do that, it's going to really, really quickly show you who's going to, match your energy. I will share a little bit of a personal story about that. In the last year, I've given my phone number to 2 men that I've been interested in. I approached them and I initiated conversation with them, and I initiated making plans. And it actually felt really good and really powerful. And it also showed me pretty quickly, like it cut to the chase. There was no beating around the bush. There was no passive aggressive behavior like I would have had in the past, where maybe I would have sat and just liked their Instagram posts or just hoping that they would reach out to me if I kept liking their posts or responding to their stories, hoping that they would take that as a sign that I was interested and they would reach out to me. And that's so passive aggressive because people can't read minds. Some of us are pretty good, being empathetic and all of that. And we can feel how people are feeling. But in general, most people are not reading each other's minds and making assumptions in that way. And just passive aggressively liking someone's Instagram doesn't say, I am interested in you and I want to get to know you and I'd like to spend time with you. Are you down for that too? So when you initiate like that, it's so powerful because it cuts to the chase. And what I learned was the 2 people that I initiated with were not interested in the same way that I am. And you know why that's really cool and doesn't feel like rejection? Is because I understand that it's redirection. Those people are not meant for me. And that gets me closer to the person who is meant for me. So initiation is a powerful tool for getting closer to what it is that you actually want. And if you just sit back and play passive aggressive games or never say a thing or never even put yourself out there at all and just wait for people to find you and choose you, you're really missing out on some experiences that can actually bring you to where it is you actually want to be. I'm switching gears just a little bit here. Taking a feminist approach to dating, that's been kind of where my mindset has been the last year, as I am challenging myself and pushing through that discomfort. Because taking a feminist approach to dating means moving beyond those outdated gender roles and creating relationships based on equality and mutual respect and shared vulnerability. It means both people have the right to express interest. Both people have the right to take action. Both people have the right to be active participants, not passive objects waiting to be picked, not sitting back waiting to be chosen. When you initiate, you're modeling the kind of relationship you want from the beginning, one where both people have agency, voice, and choice. And shout out to Dating Brazen podcast, because she has been such an impact for me in reframing dating from a feminist approach. And I highly recommend that if you are dating, whether you are straight, queer, whatever your orientation is, like go listen to her podcast because she is inclusive of everyone. And she really deep dives the feminist approach to dating and taking agency and ownership and being an active participant in your own dating life. And that's been really, really helpful for me. So just a little shout out there for her. So practical tips for initiating. How do you actually initiate without feeling awkward or overanalyzing everything? Because I think for a lot of us, I know for me, speaking for myself, that was really the challenge is, okay, like I've spent my entire dating history waiting to be chosen and kind of doing that passive aggressive game. So like, how do I actually initiate? Like, how do I move out of that space of just feeling so awkward and like completely overthinking it and just putting myself out there? And I think I say overthinking because really that's what it came down to is I found myself just stuck in these cycles of overthinking it. And so then I just wouldn't do anything at all because I was making it so big in my head. And the reality is like, it's actually pretty straightforward and you just have to start small. Initiating doesn't have to mean a grand, dramatic gesture. It can be as simple as sending a thoughtful message, making eye contact, smiling, and then asking someone if they want to grab a coffee. Like just put the energy forward and then talk to them. Like you don't need to go above and beyond and like do this big gesture. Just, keep it simple. You can use invitations, not expectations. You can think of it as inviting someone into your space, not demanding they meet you there. You could say something like, I'd love to get to know you better. Would you like to hang out sometime? And that's so much less pressure than, I need you to like me or else. We're not just like diving into a relationship day one, like you're my person. Like we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Keep it casual, just express interest. I'd love to get to know you better. The most recent person that I initiated with, it was so simple. I just messaged them after a social event and I was like, hey, it was great hanging out with you and seeing you. I would love to hang out with you one-on-one sometime. Are you down for that? And it was an immediate yes from them because I took that step and I bridged the gap there and I reached out and I just kept it so simple. I invited. No expectations that they're going to say yes. No weirdness added to it. So much less pressure. Also, it's important for you to know, like you need to detach from the outcome. Your worth is not determined by how someone responds. If they're interested, awesome. If not, that's great too. You initiated because you're brave and clear, and that's already a win. The step of initiating is already a win. You're already empowered. You did the big scary thing. And whether or not they say yes, that has no reflection on your value as a person. So detach from that. Don't put so much weight on whether or not they say yes because you did the thing. You did it. Cheer for yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. You did the thing. And if they say yes, that's so cool. You're going to feel even better. But you know what? You're still going to be okay, even if they said no. Because like I said earlier, a no is a redirection. It's sending you onward to what is actually meant for you. Redirection. You also need to practice self-compassion because initiating feels so vulnerable, especially if you've been taught that it's not your place. And that one was a hard one for me, of giving myself grace, allowing myself to be vulnerable because it is a vulnerable step. You are taking a big, brave step and expressing yourself with intention and clarity. And for a lot of us, we're just simply not taught that. We're not taught to move through the world with intention and clarity and being our full selves. And that comes across in dating as well, where we hide, we sit back, we wait, we're passive aggressive. So that step is so vulnerable. And so you need to be kind to yourself. Celebrate the act of showing up, no matter the outcome. Be kind to yourself. It's okay. And then trust in reciprocity. If someone is interested, they will meet you halfway. You don't have to chase. You initiate, you invite, and then you watch how they respond. Relationships should be mutual, not one-sided. So initiate, and then detach from it, and trust that if that person is mutually interested, they are going to meet you and match your energy. You don't have to pursue them. You don't have to chase. You don't have to make it happen. You get to trust in that. What is for you is not going to pass you by. And I am sorry to be repetitive here, but a no is redirection. Okay? If someone's not interested, it's okay. It's all right. You don't want to be with someone who's not interested. You don't want to chase after someone who's not interested. That's how we get into toxic situations and we self-abandon. So trust that the person who's meant for you is going to show up and meet you there. Okay. I'm going to close it out here. And I just want to say that initiating a dating isn't about getting a date. I know. I know. You're probably like, wait, what? But no, that's what I want, is I want a date. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, while that's our desired outcome and goal, that's not the point. It's not just about getting a date. It's about claiming your agency, expressing your desires, and building relationships based on mutual choice and authentic connection. And more importantly, it's about being your whole authentic, aligned self in that space of dating, of showing up for yourself and taking control of your dating life, not just waiting for things to come to you, of putting the energy out of manifesting, because that is manifesting energy in dating. Initiating is manifesting. And if you think that manifesting is just saying, oh, I want something, saying it out loud to yourself or writing it down and then sitting back and waiting for it to show up, you don't know what manifesting is really about. And we need to talk about that, okay? Because what manifesting is setting an intention, speaking a desire, and then meeting it, creating active space for holding it, showing up, taking aligned action. It's not just sitting back and passively waiting for things to fall in your lap. That is not how it works. Manifesting takes two things: an intention and a showing up for what it is that you desire. So if you want to have a beautiful relationship, if you want to have a partnership that is based in equality and mutual respect and reciprocity, you have to speak that intention, set that intention, and then show up for it. It's okay to take up space in your love life. It's okay to reach out first. It's okay to want and to act on that wanting with clarity and courage, taking aligned action. You are not here to be chosen like a prize. You are here to choose to. And that includes choosing to initiate, taking agency back for yourself in your dating life. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have a story about a time you initiated and how it went, send it my way over on Instagram. I'd love to hear about your experiences with initiating. And if I get some of those, I'd love to share. And then hopefully it will inspire other people, other women, to get out there and initiate and, take ownership of your dating life. You don't have to wait to be chosen. Talk to you soon. If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to subscribe and share, because what do we say, baby?
Sharing is caring.